Hello, I'm Ricky.
And I'm Joe, and this is Season 2, Episode 13 of the Beer and Broadband Podcast for September 23rd, 2019. I made it through without screwing that up, which I didn't do last time, which is awesome.
I do have to say that is my favorite part of redoing an intro, is we redo it, but then always still announce that we messed it up.
Oh yeah, I'm going to do that. That's the funniest thing about doing that. So we're back. This is our second episode back for this year. We got about 8 more left, so tune in because we got some fun stuff coming up. But this time we got some good topics. We'll talk a little bit about CCNP, talk about some of the new stuff that's happening with Cisco certs, talk about some dogs because I might have a new dog, and we're going to talk about Apple Gaming. But first, let's talk about beer and some of our favorite things to drink. So, Highland Brewing from Asheville, North Carolina, near and dear to our hearts. Seasonal Clawhammer Oktoberfest Marzen Lager, 5.0% ABV. Pioneers in craft. And what it says is Bavarian-inspired, Asheville-made. The Marzen Lager is smooth and well-rounded with toasty malt character. So, what do you think?
Yeah, this is pretty good, actually. I know I'm the naysayer of this group because I don't drink as much beer. I generally don't like Oktoberfest things. They're generally just a bit too on the nose for me. This is really smooth, and this has got like a really light flavor, but still a very defined flavor. You know, it's not like when you get a light flavor because it feels like it's a bit too watery, there's not enough there. It's just very mellow. It's very subtle, but it's very clear.
So one of the things I like about it is it has a nice caramel aftertaste. Mm-hmm. It's kind of roasty and caramel, and I think everything they say about it's true.
Yeah,
it's definitely a very German beer, Bavarian, and I just like that it's local. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, when I say local, I don't mean like in the local sourced, farm raised, whatever. I'm fine with that too. I have no problem with that sort of culture, except for some of the pretension that comes behind it sometimes. But more what I mean is I just like that it's a North Carolina beer that I could get, whenever I want to. If it's a beer that's sold around here regularly, I don't care if it's good. I don't care if it's local or not. But it's just kind of nice to have this. And Highland Brewing, they make a lot of pretty decent beers. So they're hit or miss sometimes, but this is a good beer. It's well crafted. Mm-hmm. I could drink this. I wish they would release this all the time. I would just pick it up. I was
going to say that. It's a very good, just like everyday beer. You know, it's not like the pumpkin ones we did last time. That's a little bit seasonal, especially that second one we did that was such a strong pumpkin flavor. I couldn't drink that every day, but that'd be a really good that's just a good sipping beer.
It
is.
Drink
that anytime.
It is a fantastic sipping beer. I like it. I could see drinking that with like some breaded fish and some other stuff like that. That'd be really good.
There's not much I can see that you couldn't do with it because it's got some of those sweeter notes you get from the darker beers, but it's still got the kind of lighter flavor profile you get of some of the like wheat beers and things like that. So no, it's a good melt. That was surprisingly nice.
I like it. I'm happy with it. So let's talk about the Funky Buddha. So this is Funky Buddha Brewery Vibin Groovable Lager. It is crisp, refreshing, and groovy. Funky. They make it hard to read. It's got the government warning for optimal taste. Enlightenment, refer to date on the bottom. And so I don't see an ABV. They have to give an ABV. Goodness. Okay, that's hard to read. This is the way that they've got this printed on here. I'll let you see the can, but it is not easy to read.
Stuff.
Yeah, it's all shiny and not easy to see what it says. But it's from Oakland Park, Florida, which that would explain. It's a Florida man product. Mm-hmm. I don't see an ABV on it, but I can't imagine it's more than 5%.
I'd even say maybe 5% is rough. This tastes like or maybe a 3.8, 4.2, somewhere around there. Like it's fairly light. I'm interested to see what you have to say about it, because this is an interesting flavor profile. It is not bad, but I don't know if you just handed this to me, I'd recognize this as beer.
I totally recognize this as beer because it has a hoppy and malty flavor.
Really? I don't get that very much. I know you're more sensitive to it than I am. This is almost straddling a line for me between like a fruit beer and a cider, just in terms of lightness. Like, there's not a lot of fruit flavor to it, but it has that very like watery consistency. It's got like a very refreshing, like cooling taste to it.
Found it. It's 5% ABV.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, they've mellowed it out. I'm impressed that this is 5. Considering the other one was 5 and this one is 5. I mean, this carries the alcohol really well.
Well, 5% ABV, normally I can find that it can be masked pretty well. We've drank a lot of 5% ABVs that I've been, that doesn't really taste like it's got a lot of alcohol in it. So, one of the things that I say about this, because this is a pineapple beer, so it's a fruit beer.
Okay. Yeah.
It is nicely sippable.
Mm-hmm.
For all the things that an IPA is supposed to have, this has all the good qualities of that, without the bitterness that comes from the.
Or is it an IPA? Isn't it? I thought
No,
this was a lager. Yeah.
This is a lager.
I can get what you're saying with that. Actually, that's maybe something I can get behind. It is kind of the best parts of an IPA without the bad bits of just having that much extra hop in it.
Yeah. It doesn't have the extra pininess, and I love some. I know that some people love that, so that's.
If you like a bitter beer, this isn't one for you. But if you like smooth beer, if you like a little bit of sweet notes, it's definitely there. If you're the kind of person that generally likes like a stout or a lager that's got that caramel stuff that that's not here. This is a lighter beer in terms of like color.
It kind of reminds me of. Have you ever had pineapple juice that's a little watered down, like in a drink or something, where you got like it's like the last little bit of pineapple juice at the bottom of a like tiki drink or something. It's mixed with ice. It kind of reminds me of that in flavor. So it's not bad.
Yeah, I can get that. But then it's also important to note that it doesn't have a lot of pineapple flavor, because that's also same thing as we talked about melons. Pineapples are kind of the same way. A lot of their natural flavor comes from the very high sugar content, which gets eaten up during the process.
Right.
There's not a lot to hold on to there. Unlike apples that have their pectin and other things. But
I can't say I love it, but if I was given this beer to drink, if I bought a 6-pack, the place I would want to drink it is at the beach.
Yeah.
While I'm eating some fresh fish or shrimp, having this with that, like on the beach, just like from one of those little like carts that you get, like the shrimp, or some ceviche, with this would probably be great.
Yeah,
something like that. It would be fantastic.
I can see this as just being a really good like outdoor event beer. You're going to go out to a concert. You're going to be at the beach. Any place you're going to get potentially like hot and sweaty. This is really refreshing. It's very light. You could definitely mix it with some food, but it's got such a subtle flavor. I mean, you could get just as much like in your face flavor as just having like some lemon water. Like it's not super aggressive. So you could drink it almost with anything, but it's really refreshing. I mean, it's cool to the touch almost.
Yeah, I like it. I don't like it as much as I do the other beer.
Yeah.
The other beer, for me, has a more complex flavor. This one is not as well crafted.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, like I said, I'm not sure I'd drink this and be like, oh, hey, yeah, this is a great beer, as opposed to, okay, you have given me something slightly alcoholic. What is it?
Yeah, this is an alcoholic drink. This is a beer. This is like a well-made tea. Uncle Iroh from The Last Airbender has well crafted
leaf juice.
The Oktoberfest. This is some leaf juice that doesn't taste bad. The funky Buddha. I don't know. I don't want to be too harsh on it, because there are people that probably like it, and there's a retro style to their can. It makes it hard to read some of the stuff on the back, but look, try to read the stuff on the back and try to find the ABV on it somewhere. It's pretty difficult, right? Because of the way they set that up.
It's so reflective. Is what
it's super hard. And I guess the lighting in here isn't. Well, no, I've got really good lights in here.
Yeah.
But it's just, it just doesn't stand out. But it's got some good artwork on it. The can's well done and everything like that. I don't want to make it sound like it's some janky thing. I just don't like it as much as I do the Highland Brewing thing.
No, you're right. Like, I'm not seeing the ABV on here either. I know it is.
It's on the front of the can. To the left, if you're looking at it, right below.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
They've put it in the picture.
Exactly.
Why would you do that?
It's really hard to read, too. It's really hard to find.
But yeah, no, I think that's just more. I mean, my wife would love to drink that. I think if you don't like the really beer characteristics of the beers, if you don't like the hops, if you don't like the malts, you don't like some of those roasted flavors, then I mean it's a fruit beer. I mean, it is a pineapple beer. It is a fruit beer. Most people know whether or not they like a fruit beer. It's just, it's a light version of that.
Normally, I love fruit beer though.
Mm.
Fruit beer is one of my favorite types of beer because it has all those citrus or fruity notes that hop forward beers have, but that has less hops, and so I don't get that extra bitterness at the end, the pininess. But this beer is it's not quite fruity enough for it to be my favorite fruit beer. It needs to be a little bit more fruity for that to happen. But it's got some good things about it. I don't want to keep hammering on this while we could keep going on and on about it. Which one do you think is the one that you would get all the time if you could drink?
I would drink the Oktoberfest almost any day. That'd be a very solid go-to beer to stock in your fridge, and it can fit really with almost any occasion.
Yeah, check out the Oktoberfest from Highland Brewing. You totally should.
Yeah.
Otherwise, let's get on to our topics. So let's talk about the Apple gaming service.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we talked about last time. You don't really watch the Apple stuff.
I don't follow Apple, but I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is my assumption when I see things like this. This is a game streaming service akin to what Windows Live tried to do. That you're really just renting your games, and you're playing off of some web server somewhere, and they'll totally play great because it doesn't matter how strong your computer is because I play it on this virtual server. Woo!
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So there are some things about it that I'm not 100% sure about, but as a concept, everyone's trying to build some sort of game streaming service. We talked about this kind of last time about how scuzzy that can become or how it kind of is. But here's the kicker. Most other places are $10, maybe even $20 a month. Mm-hmm. You have to buy maybe some hardware with it, other things like that. For the Apple one, $5 a month, and you can just use it on whatever you got. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you still have to pay the Apple tax for the Mac or the iPhone or the iPad, but when you use it, you get to play some actual PC games on these devices, stream to it, and so it's going to use some probably similar streaming technologies to some other things. It'll probably download some of the games locally to the device. So, does that change your opinion about that at all?
No, not a bit. I'm going to tell you why, because we've tried to build this before, and it failed miserably. And the reason it failed is because of how much latency you can get when you're trying to do serious video games. That part has not been fixed.
Nope.
And Thomas from work and me had a big conversation about this after E3 because there's some other service.
That's the Austin that was on episode whatever back whenever from Texas. Yeah.
Yeah. One of my coworkers, and we had a big talk about it, and I get it. I get the want for something like this. If it was set up differently, I'd be all about it because I like the idea that you can get into PC gaming, but you don't have to have necessarily this super powerful rig. It's a great concept, but we don't have the technology there that we can get the millisecond times we need to play some of these games. I mean, in a world where we're trying to sell people 144 hertz monitors to make them better, the super highest DPS mouses available to make these games more enjoyable, we then flip around and say, okay, well now deal with internet latency.
So here's a thing that I have for this. Mm-hmm. What if the $5 a month just allowed you to have access to a library of games that you downloaded to a device.
See, I'd be much more okay with that. I like that better. That's kind of in the vein of like what are they even called? GameFly or something like that. There was for a little while a Netflix style gaming service.
It was GameFly.
GameFly
had a thing like that, and there was also something else. But yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah. I'm more okay with that. I'm fine with the like. Well, here's this library of games. You pay like a certain amount to get it to you. You swap them out. It's essentially like a Netflix style, gaming service. I think that works okay because that solves the problem of gaming can be expensive. So there is definitely a barrier for people with every game I want to buy at $60.
If they had that, but they had a family plan, would you buy it?
Well, it depends. Do they have to be on the same subnet at all times? What do we define as a family plan?
It's location and IP based.
Okay.
It needs to be on the same TCP IP subnet as you described, and it has to share a similar MAC address that's one increment closer to your previous MAC address.
Okay, yeah, we need to match the MAC addresses. We also need to make sure we've got a 3-second hello timer. If at any point in time more than 2 are failed, we're going to terminate the computer.
Yeah.
We're actually just going to turn it off because you're pirating.
Exactly.
I guess jokes aside, I'd be 100% fine with something like that. The part that I hate is this idea that we're streaming it over the internet. Because on one hand, that's the factor you get to say you don't care about. As your service, you get to say, oh, well, your internet's slow. That's why X is not working. All the blame is off of you. You don't have to do the hard part because the hard part now is just for some other person who in the same turn doesn't care about that service. Like, look, we run a whole internet. We don't care if Applefly is slow today. But you're still taking money from the customer for a product that you can't reliably give them.
So, I hear all that. I think I'm still going to try it for 1 month, maybe 2. I'll see what it's like.
Yeah, I mean, as cheap as it is, $5, people can certainly try it. I know we've seen several companies recently trying to do it, and no one's giving me the answer for, okay, well, I don't care how fast my internet is in terms of megabits per second. That's not the issue. It's latency. What are we going to do about that?
Well, as educated network engineers, and knowing all the different things that you can do to fix some of these problems, and how you have to have like a good end-to-end path and all these other things, I've tried the GeForce Now streaming. I have it actually on. I have an NVIDIA Shield now, that's going to be a future episode. That's not this episode. I didn't have it slated for this because I want to play with it for like another week or 2 before, and give you a chance to play with it and stuff like that. But basically, what it comes down to is even with playing something at 1080p or 4K, depending on what I've got it connected to. That NVIDIA Shield streaming service works pretty decent, and I get good enough frame rates that I don't care. If Stadia works that way, and it's either free, because that's what it is. It came for free with my NVIDIA Shield.
Yeah.
Totally cool with that. If this is an extra perk you give me with a piece of hardware that I buy, I'm great. If it costs $3 a month, I'd be okay with it. I don't care that it's a AAA title. I don't own that game.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I'm not buying Stadia is because I have to subscribe to your service and I have to buy the game.
And you don't actually have that game.
And I don't actually have the game. If I bought it and it became available to me on Steam, which, I mean, admittedly, there's sometimes that the game doesn't like stay with you if you buy it like at those places. But whatever, if I bought it and it became available to me, then okay, that's fine. But it doesn't. And so I don't see the point of that. But for $5, if I got to just have access to a library of games that I could download to my phone, or I could stream and it was decent enough over Wi-Fi that I could play this mobile game wherever I go, I'm fine with that. I'm not expecting to be able to play Borderlands or, one of the Mordor games or The Witcher or something like that. I'm thinking it's going to be something like some sort of like mobile game or something like that that doesn't require a lot of processing power, and therefore it's not going to have a lot of bits that it's sending over the network. So, or maybe you even get like a local version of it that's just tied back to that and it deletes it after it's done. All those things, totally cool with me. $5 a month. Totally could play that. Get to play a whole bunch of different mobile games and try them out. And I don't have to have any DLC or microtransactions. And they don't make me wait for an hour to be able to open a freaking chest like Elder Scrolls, the Blades game that I was hoping was going to be so much better than it actually was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, the point is...
Have we had a podcast since the whole Bethesda debacle with Fallout?
Yeah. We even talked about it because I bought it. I mean,
okay.
That's what
right.
this thing is right here.
I just didn't know that I have
here
it in
to
the
my
gap,
right.
and I was like, man.
This is the helmet, and the only good thing that came out of that, the reason that it was...
Yeah, you've got me on recording a year or two ago saying like I thought like Bethesda was probably one of the best video game companies out right now, and man, I'm eating my shoes on that one.
Yeah, you are. They totally screwed the
pooch.
pooch.
From them probably ever again. That's so sad.
Well, I think I probably am going to try Fallout 76 again. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give it a chance because it went from buy to free.
Yeah,
basically. I'm gonna try it again just to see if there's any improvements that have been made. They've made some updates. Supposedly, there's some good things about it, and they've done Elder Scrolls Online, which I really like. Mm-hmm. But every game is gonna have every game company is gonna have their moments. I mean, I don't expect for them to be perfect. I'm willing to be a bit forgiving with like CD Projekt Red or Bethesda if their next set of games is good. If they make
I think
some
a
mistakes.
lot's riding on the next Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah.
Of like what their future is going to look like.
But if they make it like this crap, there's no way. There's no way I'm gonna be on board with that because that will kill my favorite gaming franchise.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of pressure on them because I've always kind of felt that we give Bethesda a lot of wiggle room because they do build these really big open games. When you sit down and you say, okay, what about Skyrim is so much better than X other open world that came out at the same time? And the list is generally not as long as I was just saying, well, it's a very established franchise. You've built up tolerance to some of the bugs they kind of consistently have and you're just okay with as opposed to like a new title. But I don't think they're going to get that leeway anymore.
No.
They're going to have to release something that can't be standard Bethesda buggy or it's just going to hit them.
I've been playing, so this is completely off topic. We're supposed to be talking about CCNP recertification right now.
We'll get there.
But I've been playing the Elder Scrolls Blades. They did an update, and I was like, okay, well, let me go back and play it again. And there was some content there, and there's supposed to be a story mode, and they actually had some fairly compelling stuff. But the thing that kills me is make me pay $15 for this game.
Yeah.
Make me pay $20 for it. Make me pay for the game. I don't want to do the microtransactions.
Yeah.
I just want to play it. It's actually kind of fun. The base game has some fun elements. It does require a little bit of blocking and slashing at certain times. There's some timing things. I don't expect for it to have the same mechanics and skill level as something like a Skyrim or Fallout 4 or something like that. But if you made this and a couple other mobile games in that same genre where you charged me $20 a month, $20, not $20 a month, but you charged me $20 to be able to play it, I would buy every single one of them. I'd spend $60, $70. And I don't care if you offered me extra microtransactions, just as long as they didn't affect the base gameplay.
Yeah.
I'd totally be okay with that. But the travesty of it is that the things that you need to progress are tied to timed situations like opening chests specifically, and then you get nag screens and they're constantly trying to get you to buy stuff.
Get some push notifications in there.
Yeah, it just it is like have you ever gone to get a drink of milk and the milk is not expired but it's just almost expired?
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like if every taste of milk that you got for the rest of your life was like that.
Yeah.
It's just close enough to being good,
but it's not
not good.
Yeah.
But it's not quite bad enough that you're not going to keep drinking it.
Yeah, well, that's the line, right? It's how much can they push into the game that you still keep playing it.
Yeah,
I know I'm dragging us a little bit more off topic, but did you see the write-up from the UK about microtransactions? I think it was specifically loot boxes, but there was the
legislation they want to do to get rid of loot boxes. Yeah, that's
I like how it came right in the curtails because they just a couple months before, maybe not even a couple months, did this thing of like, are loot boxes gambling? And they were like, no, loot boxes are not gambling. They do not fit our current gambling laws. People were real upset, and like I know the publishers were not upset. They're like, see, it's not gambling. The other one turned around and said, but we did study it, and man, we really should just ban it anyway.
Yeah,
it's like it's not gambling. But that's what I told my wife. It's like just because they said it doesn't fit their gambling laws, didn't say that it's okay.
Yeah.
They didn't say they wouldn't then try and restrict it. It's just they can't restrict it under the current law.
Well, yeah, and that's the way law is.
Exactly.
Like that, they're as having worked in that industry before. Well, industry. It's not really an industry, but having worked in that area before, that profession, and understanding that, having an education there, law really is. It's about what it says and whether that fits the situation that you're in.
Yeah.
Not so much whether this is right or wrong.
Exactly.
Because that's not what the law is there to do. And we oftentimes conflate those things.
Yeah.
Now, you really want to have good moral people that care about what's right and wrong, making those laws, trying to fit them into the situations that they run across. But also a good moral person would say, this law does not apply to this because it's not
the same thing.
Not the same thing. Therefore, we should. But this is clearly something we need to deal with. Therefore, we should. And as you know, Europe does some pretty crappy stuff sometimes, but they also gave us some great wine, great beer.
Yeah,
they gave us some really good foundations for laws and traffic laws and things like that. And oftentimes they come up with good things ahead of time. I'm interested to see what they're going to do there. I don't think the U.S. is going to follow suit, but I hope Canada does, because I really would like to move to Canada eventually to get away from the downward spiral that we're having of just crap that is coming our way. I'm joking, of course. I love living in the U.S., but we got problems. We got bad problems.
Yeah, it seems like everybody does nowadays.
Yeah.
I think we're all trying to reaffirm our position in the world after everything became so global and everything became so connected. And some countries are doing it better than others, but I think that's the global struggle right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of do hope they go through with it, just because generally a couple other ones go through with it, and eventually enough countries do it that even if some of the other ones don't, it's not profitable anymore.
Yeah.
Because now you don't have enough user base anymore. So then, realistically, you say, oh, look, we're never going to do them again. We're the good guys. We're not going to do this thing we were preying on you anymore now that we don't make money off of it. So we're going to go find the new thing we can get money from. But it'll take a couple of years for that to spin up. That's kind of how this always goes,
So the one thing that I really hope does happen with this that didn't happen in the past, European law sometimes filters into the U.S. Sometimes it does. A lot of times it doesn't. There's been situations like with sugar and some other things like that have affected our public health. And I'm not going down like political routes of like, whether or not the Europeans were right or the Americans were right. But in this particular case, if the Europeans go down that route, I hope the Americans take that in. That's all I'm saying.
No, I
because
agree.
That's definitely the right thing to do. It is preying on young people. There's a whole generation of people and future generations of people that are being brought up with this dopamine, kind of addiction to believe that this is okay.
Yeah.
And it's not. And we've got every service under the sun, every company trying to follow suit with it. Even like fairly decent companies trying to follow suit.
Yeah, I mean, when they've done good studies, that's like, here, we took these gamblers and we had them play these mobile games and they became addicted to loot boxes.
Yep.
Like, it's the same pleasure receptors in your brain from betting money as it is to opening up a loot box. It's not the same thing, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's just like that crack. So let's talk about the CCNP. Well, first, let's talk about our recertification stuff. Well, my recertification and your path towards certification.
Yeah.
So we had about 2 years, maybe 3 years there, where after I got my cert, I didn't talk about getting recertified.
Yeah.
And it's because life happens and we've been working on things. So I'm trying to get T-Shoot. and you need to get T-shoot. So we're studying together on that again, which is good. Having a good time. One of the things that I've noticed with studying for it this time is that there are some things that they've adjusted, but for the most part, they've pretty much left the T-shoot exam alone, at least as far as the study materials go.
Yeah.
I haven't taken it again, so I can't say one thing or the other. But that's pretty much what my job used to entail before I became an architect. And so, I moved from manager and operations to architect, and before that all I did was find problems and fix them. And that's what T-shoot's all about. I'm kind of glad that they didn't change much on it, because so I love Cisco. I love their exams. I love the knowledge that I get from studying for these things, and the way that I learn and all that other stuff. But the way they write the questions and everything, the way that they present the information to you to be able to try to give you value, quote unquote, for your certification, just really to make it really hard for people, is something I don't agree with.
Yeah, I mean, here's the way I see it. Having taken the other exams and doing some studying, and one of our coworkers recently, he got one of the tests done. He had to take it multiple times. There is some extremely obscure information hidden within route and switch that, you can go and find it. Like he went into a question, he had no idea what it was. He was able to go back and research it, but it was from some blog post made almost a decade ago. And okay, that's information that's there, but it's definitely not something I would expect the average person to have memorized. There's a reason you have quick guides and you have all this documentation available to you. Like when we're doing a project now, we're setting up some WLCs and things like that. I don't know WLC stuff off the top of my head. I mean, I know some of it. Granted, this isn't a wireless cert, but we got through it. We got a whole configuration built that we needed for it based on being able to go to this documentation.
So you say that, but like if I talk about the concepts for CapWAP versus FlexConnect versus some other technology that's WLC related, if I talk about 802.1x versus WPA2 versus something else like that, you understand those concepts. Like if we were talking about that as a whole, you understand those things. You might now. I'm not saying you're a wireless expert, not at all. That's not either one of us. We're route switch, and your development, and I'm, I've got like other things that I'm an expert in. But when it comes down to it, we understand the technical ideas behind that, and that's what these tests are supposed to. Do you have a mastery over these technical ideas?
I get what you're saying. That maybe if you take it a grain lower, are questions based around, okay, I'm going to present you 4 commands, which command is right? Is that too granular? And I guess, that probably is. But I mean, we're getting to some really obscure things on them, as opposed to T-shoot. I guess that's where I was going with it. T-shoot is such a real-world exam. There are some multiple choice questions, and maybe they're too specific, but these tickets, at least based on, you've taken it once before, so and then we have like sample stuff that we study with. They're good. Like, this is like a real, how do you fix this problem?
This is broken, how do you fix it?
And it's all super real world. And I mean, sometimes, I know we studied on one sim that like the problem that was wrong was like an IP address, and I was like, oh, that was rough. And at the same time, I was like, yeah, but that's life. Like, how easy is it to, I mistyped something? You really should never be...
Fat finger.
Well, you should never be typing your commands out as opposed to like pasting them if you're doing like a big config or a file transfer or something.
You should have it validated, have it double validated, or even scripted out. Like, I mean, in this day and age, there's no real reason for you to be actually going CLI and delivering commands on your own. But
that's a digression. But like, it's a real world thing. Anyone that sits down and they work on routers and part of their job is fixing routers and switches kind of falls into this exam very well. And if you look at people online talking about recerting, there's always T-shoots like, oh man, I went and I tried to retake route again because I also did routers. I failed it twice. I went and took T-shoot, blew it out of the water the first time, because that's what relates most to you.
Well, it is the most actual exam. It makes the most logical sense. The questions on it they aren't crazy. Even the ones that are like, I mean, even if I could remember the question from 3 years ago, not going to. But so if I don't remember any of those questions, and I wouldn't put them out there because that's against the rules.
Yeah.
But what I am saying is, even if it was like something that was like, take this protocol and stack, the way that BGP works on here. In T-Shoot, while they might have something like that, that is something that seems to be less important than knowing actually how to use BGP.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm having a brain fart moment, and I don't remember how the protocol stack for BGP works 100% because I don't use it every day. But what I do remember is there's 3 things that BGP has to have in order to form a neighborship. And I'm looking through the configuration, and I'm doing a stare and compare between router 2 and router 1, and there's a difference in these 2 different lines on it. That seems to be the problem. That's at least a starting point to figure out this issue.
Yeah.
I mean, in a real world scenario, Friday before I got off work, haven't touched these devices in forever. My boss comes to me and says, "Hey, are we having a problem in this location?" I said, "I don't know, not that I've heard of." They said, "Well, I mean, I'm not the guy that does that anymore, So I'm like, okay, well, let me look. Give me a few minutes." And then like somebody else pings me and somebody else pings me. I'm like, okay, well, there probably is a problem. And I remember somebody saying something about ISP issues. I just saw it like in the chat somewhere. And I said, well, it might be an ISP issue. Let me look and see. But I'm just to be sure, I'm going to go look at these things here. Can you find out, or do you know if all these people are on a common ISP? So I'm doing all my troubleshooting stuff. Get down to it, one of the routers wasn't responding, and I go, oh well, I think it might be this one. Let me take it out of load balancing, and then we'll kind of like work through it. That is like T-Shoot to a T. Like I knew the network, I know what the system is. I've got the diagram in my head, or I've got it on a piece of paper. I'm working through it level by level. I do a trace route. I try to do this. I try to do that. Like that is T-Shoot, and I'm good at that. And I think every network engineer that's worth their salt is good at that, and that's why T-Shoot is the best CCNP exam. Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah.
That almost sounds like an endorsement at the end. It's like, this is Joe with this. Thank you for listening to my T-Shoot series. That's why we are the best exam.
I love it, man. So, have you heard about how Cisco's changing their certificate strategy?
I've heard they're doing it, but I don't know too much about it.
So, I'm going to watch your face as I tell you this.
Okay.
CCIE is now going to be a different set of year than it was originally. It was 2 years.
That's right. Now it's 3 years.
Now it's 3 years.
I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I can see the joy on your face, even though it's not
2
your
years
voice.
is just rough. Like, I think it really curtails people out of it. That to be a CCIE, your main job has to also be doing CCIE level work in your concentration to be able to stay current enough to take it every 2 years.
Yeah.
Because even people that take it, like, they still study. You still study for several months for your CCIE even when you're renewing. Well, so it's like you're getting like a year and a half off, then just have to go back into it. And then imagine, like, let's say I got a CCIE. I do some network stuff, but it's almost all software development or design. I need to know the network to be able to design good automation for it. But I'm not in here staying super current on every little bit of change to something that like a CCIE has to know.
Well, so that's the other change of their strategy. It's supposed to all be software driven. So every CCIE is supposed to have a bit of development skills.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's not bad for me since I've got those skills, but that might be a little rough on the people that maybe don't, like our legacy CCIEs that have had it for like 10 or 15 years.
The training's supposed to get you what you need.
Yeah.
It's supposed to get you up to...
I'll take that with a grain of salt. Not against Cisco. Cisco does. I've never taken like their actual classes, but I know buying the books and reading through their books has not been enough to get certs most of the time.
Here's what I really hope, though, that we're not going to have this white paper problem. Because this is one of the reasons that we were talking about.
Yeah, because it's like real practical.
Yeah, like there needs to be some more rules around where you can pull the material for your questions. I'm totally cool with if when you buy the book that you study by, they say you need to. They give you the material and they say you need to study these other things, or we're going to print out these blog posts and you need to know them by heart, or any material will come from this realm of things. But there's such a breadth of information out there on whatever, like the Cisco blogs. I'm 42 years old. I don't have enough time left in my life to read every Cisco blog that's out there. That is crazy to expect someone to have that stuff memorized. Yeah. And just like, I mean, even if I read it, I've read like 100 of them. My memory doesn't work that way. I don't remember everything that I ever read. I have it tangentially kind of stored back there, and I can bring it out, and oftentimes I figure it out based off of information I had before, but that's not the way my intelligence works. You know? And from that perspective, they're expecting for you to have like an eidetic memory to be able to do this stuff as you go forward. Yeah. And that's just not possible.
It's not. And I know there's been lots of grumbling in the Cisco community about how kind of over-the-top exams we're getting. And I get why they're that way. You know, I've talked to some people that are in charge of the cert programs that talk about how cheating in certain locations is very rampant. That, like, you know, tech schools will go and they'll send a teacher to go take the exam a whole bunch of times, to then farm questions, to then take back and teach just the questions. So you got to have a way to make sure that the knowledge is actually there. But I think it's taken kind of on the hint of last episode, the DRM. Yeah. You know, so we're punishing the people. Yeah, you're making questions so hard, so obscure. Why do you expect anybody to know that? You know, and I know the answer is probably that we're farming questions from a very big area. Because how do you stop somebody that's cheating by knowing answers is by having so many that you can't do anything with it, or make them really obscure. But again, I feel like that just hurts the regular person. Like, if you're a CCNP and you're working as a network engineer for your main job, and you're going to recertify, and even after studying for your recertify, you're still failing multiple times, that's a problem, because that's indicating that the real world is not keeping up with an exam. Like the whole point of a certification is to say they have this level of knowledge. And when you're saying, okay, they've had this level of knowledge, by the time they come back for recertification, they don't have enough knowledge anymore, something bad has happened.
Exactly. I know that if I went to try to take route now, while I remember everything that was on route, that's a lie. But I remember 95% of everything that was on route, probably. I could go back and take that old test and pass. I know the technology's on it, but I don't expect for things to stay stagnant. I know I'd have to study again. But the very fact that it would take me 6 months to study for that again, or 7 months to study for that again, that's not acceptable. And even then, based off of what I understand about the test, it's just not. It is not. There's the people that follow their company men or company women. They're company people. There's the people that do that. They're gonna like say it's good and it teaches you and all this other stuff. And I don't disagree with them. I think that the stuff you get out of studying for this is super practical. Yeah. It's great. But the stuff, like when I buy a book or I buy a training class from Cisco, I expect it to teach me the stuff that I need to learn to be able to pass the exam. And if my passing is predicated on me only knowing obscure material, then what I'm really doing is I'm becoming a wizard or a sorcerer in
Yeah.
networking.
Well, realistically what happens is what most people have to do is you fail at a time or two to really do the exact same thing that they don't want you to do.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want you to memorize questions. But absolutely, what happens when you fail? I'm like, man, there were like these 6 questions. I had no idea. You go look them up.
Yep.
And you do that once or twice. You now know enough of the secure information that when you see him the next time, you pass. And that's a bad strategy.
And here's the other funny thing about that. I remembered that question. I went and I looked this thing up. I didn't actually learn about how this works because in order to like understand like at a deep level as to why there's being a TCAM overflow or something like that, or there's a buffer underrun, or there's this bug in this particular version of iOS, or an ACL works this particular way to cause this particular problem, that's an edge case. That's not a common thing. And what you're supposed to be, if you're supposed to be an expert on all the common stuff that happens, that's I mean, I understand. I don't want to say that cheaters should be able to go, don't punish me who's not trying to cheat. You know, I'm trying to learn all this stuff, and I know other people, they learn, you know, all the Cisco stuff, and I think I could take it like once or twice and pass. You know, and I would have to look up some material that I saw in there. But again, like, it feels like you're punishing me for studying the material that you presented to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's the big push what we started on.
Yeah.
If people can go to a practical exam like T-Shoot and say, oh my gosh, this is so much easier than the other two. This is so much real world. I didn't have to study 6 months to recertify to get this one. But then your other exams are, you know, where's that line coming? Because there are sims and labs in the other 2 tests that generally aren't super significant.
Yep.
Maybe they need to think about moving to a model where it's like, okay, there are some multiple choice mixed in here, but instead of you having your like 2 labs and like, I don't know, 1 or 2 sims, I don't remember when I last dug route, why not just give me like 5 labs with 5 sims?
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Actually get me into a router and doing something. Because it's important to know the concept skills and stuff, but you know, the levels of learning. There's very different of I can answer a multiple choice question, and I have multiple choice strategies where it's like, okay, well, I don't actually know the answer, but I know these 2 aren't right, so now it's a 50-50.
Right.
That does not show my mastery as much of, hey, go into this router, set it up. You know, just let me do these things that you think I need to know, because you retain that knowledge better, it shows a better mastery, and it sticks with you longer.
Well, and that's, see, like the lab guides and everything, that's what they make you do. They're like, we need you to create this thing. And like, you go through the lab, and by the time you're done, you're like, oh man, I know how to make a AAA server on my router. Or I know how to, like, you know, set up .1x, or I know how to do, you know, ACL route maps, or you know, whatever it is. I know how to make things so that they affect the traffic on a router or a switch. I can make, you know, I can deal with changing port fast and all this other stuff. That's the way it's supposed to, like, teach you. And there's a lot of people that learn in such a way that they understand,
oh yeah, this is
how this works, and they're able to pass because they're able to get a good number of questions right, because they luck up and they get this particular set of things on the test.
Yeah, and again, that's a good point. It's people with different test taking strategies. I know I always do better on my exams than one of our coworkers, and even when we're studying together, I do better on the practice exams. It's purely because I'm very good at test taking.
Yeah,
I have very good strategies for. All right, well, I know it's not these. Now let's really look at the wording of the first one compared to the second one. And, you know, it's not the general idea. It's this specific modifier to the answer. It's like, that's why I think that one's not right.
I think that coworker, though, that you're talking about is a better network engineer than you are in some aspects. He's not better at other things.
I mean, yeah, because he gets to do it more. I know if you sat down and you put me and him in a really rough, like, this thing is just destroyed, he's probably going to do better. I can find smaller problems faster. I'm good at the analytics. But yeah, he probably knows more about these routers and switches than I do.
Well, I think if it was something where you had created a script to find the problem, that he probably would find the issue on one router or switch.
Yeah.
Almost to begin with.
He doesn't. I do a lot of troubleshooting with him. I find the issues faster. But he is certainly much better at, hey, let me go do these routine fixes. I'm good at finding a problem. I don't mess with routers enough to generally be as good as implementing a solution.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
you might find the problem first because you'd have a script or whatever that says, "Oh, I can point you to this." But he's like, "Oh, I know what fixes that." He doesn't know necessarily what the problem was, which doesn't necessarily make him better at troubleshooting than you are. But he knows how to fix that problem, which kind of makes him in some areas have more technical knowledge.
Yeah, he does certainly do more break fix than I do.
Yeah.
But I mean, it comes down to that. That really we should be getting close to the same thing on these practice tests, but we're not, because we're putting him in an environment he doesn't excel in, where it's this very more like, okay, let's analyze a question. But did you see there's a not in the question and then a not in the answer? There's double negatives there. What gotcha? As opposed to put us both in labs, and he'd probably consistently do better.
Yeah.
Because I think the lab. Well, I don't know. Cisco never tells you how to do it, but does the time you spend on the lab change it? There's been all these theories that if you every time you put in a wrong command, it takes some points off. And stuff
so
like that.
There's an expectation that you are able to get things within a certain framework, but they don't share how that works, and so you don't know.
So he'd probably do better. I know he would be able to. He would question mark less than I do. He would get more things right the first time, where I would do more like validate and test sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's certainly interesting. I hope this new direction turns out. I'm more excited to take a Cisco exam and the new stuff, hoping it's better than what we kind of have right now.
I think it'll start out being better, and then it'll eventually have the scope creep that this last set of exams did, and it'll be worse.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that to begin with, it's really good, because what I'm hoping to do is get recertified, because my certification will run out before the exams hit, and then get the new material, study it immediately, and then get certified in CCDA, CCDP, or CCIE, because that's really the area that my career seems to be going. So, I mean, that's there's good hopeful things. We just complained a whole bunch about the bad stuff about Cisco exams. One of the things I can say, I've taken the Microsoft stuff. I've done this is an industry problem. It's not just a Cisco problem.
It is.
I think Cisco has a lot more practical application in their exams than other exams that I've taken, like the A+, the Security Plus, all those other things. And it's been a little while since I've taken those, but I just consistently I feel like Cisco does better at presenting those things. So all of my gripes are from a place of love and saying this is just me, this isn't what I want to see. I want to fix these problems, but I love this thing. I wouldn't keep doing it if I didn't.
Yeah, as many Cisco tests as I've taken, they're quality compared to a lot of them. I don't know. You're right. They have a lot of real world value. Not to throw shade on the A+, but I remember taking that one, and I didn't have to. Well, I did study, but I didn't need to.
Yeah.
And I got 7 of the same question. I will never forget. Evidently, Windows Arrow just breaks everything.
Yeah.
It was 7 questions on the exact same thing.
And it's got the same exact doggone answer.
Yeah. All the other ones are different. It's like, oh man, X broke. What if it was Windows Arrow? And it's like, okay, I guess it is. I mean, it makes sense.
Could be.
There's all these display problems you can get with it. It almost felt like A+ was just turn Windows Arrow off. Just keep it off. Just turn it on and it explodes. That was my main takeaway. I don't remember anything else from that exam, which should tell you about it, And I did a lot of growing when I got my first serious IT job. I knew a lot more than your average new hire coming in. But that test could have certainly. It wasn't like Cisco, where I feel like you get your CCNA. You can do CCNA level work, period, anywhere, because it's the same technology, and they do a good job exposing you to a lot of things. A+ is okay, well, we threw you into a slightly different technology, or, it was something we didn't really hit on. Sorry. You know the basics.
Yep, you know the basics.
Yeah, but it's not like that for Cisco. Cisco is very much you might know the basics, but you know the basics of everything we expect you to have here at Cisco.
So let's take a left turn.
Okay.
Let's talk about dogs. I got a new dog.
Yeah.
I haven't had a dog in man, since I was in my teens, I haven't had a dog. So I'm in my 40s, so it's been like 20 years since I've had a dog. And I've always, in my adult life, I've really wanted to have a dog. Well, I guess my ex-wife had a dog, so I had a dog by proxy of having an ex-wife.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, still, that's like in my 20s, pretty close to the age that I am now. So it's been almost 20 years since I've had a dog. I've lived with one, and you know, being me, I got to think about the tech.
Yeah.
Like, like how am I going to tech this up?
I got my cyborg dog.
Yeah, well, you know, I think I fully expect this to go the Christmas route, where I'm like, so what technology do you use, Ricky? And you're like, I don't use technology. I've seen what you do with your dog. I don't use technology. Technology has no place in the blah 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 world. So like, I don't think that I would really be able to like tech this up too much because you know my family's got to deal with it and stuff like that. But I thought about like maybe getting a camera so that I could watch the dog when I'm up here. If he's not able to come up here with me.
I'll admit the first thing I thought of was like a little attachment on its collar that's got like a UB key. It's got to plug into like a doggy door to get in and out.
Getting out of the house.
Like controlled entrance.
Well, you know, we could do a little magnetic one.
Yeah, like an RF reader or something.
Yeah,
go through.
It's just he's able to get in and out. Could let him go out into a kennel.
They make those for collars now. Is that you can get they'll connect to the doggy door and it'll only open and close when the collar's near it.
That's a good idea. I don't think I'm gonna go that route, though.
No, you shouldn't, because it's turned out to be a terrible idea. Robbers just steal your dog's collar, and now they can just go in and out as they please.
Yeah, I don't want to have that happen. Plus, my dog would only be able to go out into the backyard.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's no real reason for that. I think the only thing that with the cat, I teched up the cat a little bit. I'm allergic to the cat, but I tolerate the cat, and it's my wife's cat, but I want to be a good pet owner.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure it gets things like water on time, and she sometimes forgets to water it, or food on time, and she sometimes forgets.
Yeah, I've seen,
we move into the house, I'm like, gonna get an automatic feeder, gonna get an automatic water. 2 of the best purchases ever made for our family. You know, the automatic feeder, cat's a little too hungry, just press a button on the phone, feeds the cat. Automatic waterer, you know, just have to remember to put some water in.
Yeah, fill the basin every now and then.
Yeah. Otherwise, it takes care of itself, and it filters it so the cat's healthier. You know, that like things like that is what I'm thinking about. So, if you could tech up your dog, because I kind of know what I would want to do. Like I have like 3 things that I pretty much want to do. If you could tech up your dog experience or your pet ownership experience, what would it be?
So there are 2 pieces of tech I deploy into my animals. All of them get chipped. That's just to everybody. Get your dogs chipped. It's really important. It will save your pet's life at some point, most of the time. You know, if it doesn't, you did awesome. But your pet gets lost. Now you can always find it. The other thing I did is I took that kind of a step further, and you can buy collars now that basically are like a normal tag on the front, and when you flip them over, there's like a QR code. You can just scan on your phone, and it links up to a website that you don't have to pay for. You can pay for like premium memberships, but this is like a standard connection that will read the GPS of the location that set it off, and then it displays on that person's phone on the website for them like all of the information you need. Like where do they live, what's the phone number associated with it, who are their vets if you like find this dog and it's injured. And you know, even if they just open and say, "Oh, that's cool," and then close it, you still get the GPS ping for, "Hey, my dog was on this street right now." And so it's for having, you know, none of my dogs right now run, but I grew up with a dog that if it got out, was going to run forever. We were near a highway, and this is like I would never have lost track of that dog. You know, the dog did fine, lived to a very old age, but you know, things like that, like located my pet that's lost. I find are very important because, you know, dogs can live on a street. You know, they have some survival instincts to them, but the world is so different. You know, the scare is not my dog got lost and it starved. The fear is my dog got lost and a car hit it, or my dog got lost and maybe the person that found them is not necessarily super caring about whether or not my dog is lost, and they're just like, "Oh, free dog," and now my dog lives with them.
They're mean and they hurt the dog.
Exactly.
Like
you need to testing real technology. I try and focus in on as a way of like, how do I just keep my dog safe?
Yeah. I can see that. I think I'm going to do something like that. That is definitely one of the things that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I want to also, look into things that are a little bit more like lightweight materials that I can use for like crates.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the training materials that you can use. So in the tech that I'm thinking about, it's like the actual stuff that you put on the dog. So like getting a training harness,
the harnesses and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Hosses. Training harness, the right type of kennels, because I don't want to put them in a room by itself, and I know that they need to have like a den kind of, but I don't want to like really like put them in a place where they're afraid of it or they're miserable being in there and they like have separation anxiety and stuff like that. So
I mean, most people don't think about it, but the rule of a crate is supposed to be there's enough room for them to get in and to turn around. They're supposed to be fairly small compared to the dog because that's what provides the security.
Right.
There's a ton of people that buy small dogs too big of crates and they get the separation anxiety anyway because it doesn't feel like snug enough to them. It doesn't feel like a den. This is just this place they're trapped.
Exactly. They're just trapped in there. And so, like right now with my dog, I got it a nice crate. I think it's the right size.
I'd say that's pretty close.
He can only get in and turn around.
Yeah, it's not oversized for him.
Yeah. So like things like that, and I think I might get a camera so that I can watch what he does when I'm not in the room, or if I have to leave and he's not able to be around, I can at least like talk to him or something like that. If he's having some moments. But I think overall I'm probably not going to tech this up like putting some TCP IP on a thing too much. Most of what I'm going to do, I'm going to probably get him an automatic feeder. If I don't knock things over in my office, probably going to get him an automatic feeder, and probably going to maybe get an automatic water or two because I'm really impressed with those products.
Yeah, I can see both of those being super useful. One thing you might see is if they do automatic feeders that feed into the like interactive food things. Those are really good for dogs that either eat too fast or have any sort of food aggression. It basically will like put the food into almost like little mazes that they can get to. There's ones that like roll around and stuff like that, which are fun
like the
interactive
Kong
toys.
things.
Yeah, there are things like that, but there's then the ones that just have like texture, so they can't eat as fast, and it like stimulates the scavenging mechanisms of them eating, which can be really good. And you did mention like having a way to talk to them. I don't really know how that works. Because again, like here's the voice, they can't see you, but it has been very well researched that if you get a dog with separation anxiety, background noise is really nice. Like leave it on TV, or you just have a little speaker in there that just plays some nice little dog music. Can really help with those things.
Is dog music like where the dog band gets together and?
Well, I think it's around the same line of kid music. There's like dog pop that they just get the dogs to bark to the rhythm.
I think I'm gonna do something like that. I'm not really sure. I do a lot for the dog because I really like it a whole lot, but I'm not too into like once I do my initial round of these are the things I'm going to get for this animal. That's probably it for a while.
Yeah, there are the people that really invest in it on constantly new clothes and things like that. I mostly aim for what are the things I can do that keeps this dog safe, so this dog never has to worry about anything or be in a bad situation. And just like the quality of life things, what can I do to make like we're going to get some carpet for our house, or like I said, I think they're rugs. My dog just really is not taken to these like floors. There's no reason he should be stumbling, but he does. We've got the vet to check it. It's just like, I don't know. He eventually scrambles. He doesn't like it. It's too slippery. He's used to carpet.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get some rugs to make him happier because he doesn't like walking to the bedroom because he gets scared of the hallway sometimes because he tripped in there a couple days ago, and so that'll kind of smooth things out for him. But yeah, I can't see going through buying clothes. They do make, which you might consider for your dog, because I know it's got some problems with one of its legs. They make little shoes for dogs that have like extra cushioning in them. So maybe he'd be more comfortable putting some pressure on that foot if he had like a little bit of padding on it.
I've checked that out. So the last thing I'm going to say before we kind of wrap this up, because we're getting to the end of our time here, but use Chewy.com.
It is nice.
Don't get any sponsor for it or anything like that, but I've used them to buy like 2 sets of things here, and that worked out really well. So I'm pretty impressed with them. And going to the groomer, I thought was going to be a more expensive and kind of like painful thing. It wasn't. It was not super expensive. It was like less than $50, and it ended up working out really well.
They're not super bad. We always get our dog. We'll get them trimmed up and groomed whenever we take them into a vet because they just do such a good job with it. Yeah. Another piece of tech for you. Because you have to trim the nails. They make some really nice like dog nail trimmers now. Like when I grew up, it was like you cut them with scissors.
Clippers,
They make ones now that are almost like the things you get for small branches. They've got like the hinged entry to it to make it like you're not putting as much pressure, so you're less likely to slip and like mess up and stuff like that.
Well, the groomer did that for us.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. You do the groomer. The groomer will do that thing,
and they said all that we need to do is just take an electric toothbrush and put it on his paw so he gets used to it, and that'll help him out. So that's probably what we're going to end up doing for the most part. I'm totally down with trimming the nails and everything like that, but
I mean,
I'm not going to do as good of a job.
Here's the thing: you also have a breed of dog that really benefits from a groomer.
Right.
You get some of these smaller ones that they naturally shed and they can't really get too shaggy. You can bathe them yourself and stuff like that. You get a shaggy dog, I would absolutely be taking them to a place every time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we're kind of at the end of today. So, this has been the Season 2, Episode 13 of Beer and Broadband Podcast. And we're probably going to catch you guys next time, talk to you. We do have a Twitter, and we do have like email and stuff like that, contact information. So if you want to reach out to us or talk to us, we'll be happy to have a conversation. Otherwise, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you later.